Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video with the Adventures of the Memory Makers. Cindy and I just rolled in from Texas last night. We'd been down to the Texas Teardrop rally in Munster, Texas over the weekend and had a great time.
It was really fun. It was great to meet people that I had seen their names on the Facebook page,
Sure.
But it was good to see faces with names and put it together and get to know them a little bit. It was really fun.
And turned into a mud bog.
Kind of did.
That was kind of fun. So
we imagined that's what Woodstock was like.
yeah, exactly. With one porta potty.
Yeah. Well, not for us. We've got the Kickass room. But
yeah, we were kind of set by ourselves there, but just had a great time, great trip. Spent 6 days on the road. If you're noticing that our tongue is folded back and you didn't see the last video, I'll put a link to it in the description. But that turned out just to be an even better mod than I envisioned, and so just thrilled to have that. But today what we're here for is we're going to show you what's hiding behind the blue blanket. And we've had a lot of people ask about it. So we unveiled it at the Texas Teardrop rally. It got rave reviews, like everybody that saw it really liked it. It also won us the can koozie for Best Mod Award at the rally, so we were excited about that.
Very proud. Very
proud, very appreciative. There was a lot of neat campers there, a lot of neat mods, so for Bushy to bring that home, that was pretty neat. So without further ado, let's get rid of this blanket. But before we do, I do have a request of the viewers. So we've been doing YouTube videos now about 2 years, coming up on 2 years.
Has it been that long?
It has, yeah.
Seriously?
Time flies.
Yeah.
And I tell you, YouTube is its own special critter. And everybody talks about this big spooky algorithm that I don't think anybody really fully understands. I don't even think YouTube fully understands what they created. But we need your help as viewers to help us get these videos out to more people. It's daily that I get comments from someone, just found your channel. And how they found it, I have no idea, just surfing around and stumble onto it somehow. But if you could just take a few seconds of your time to click that like, thumbs up or thumbs down, it doesn't matter to me, and leave a comment if you got a few seconds, and tell me how stupid I am for doing the things I do. All comments are good comments when it comes to the algorithm. So, and those numbers help get these videos placed higher in the queue for other people to see them. So, a lot of people told us how much they appreciate the videos, want to know what they can do for us. That's the one thing as a viewer that you can do, not just for this channel, but for any channel that you watch. Now, if you like their content, take the time, hit that thumbs up, thumbs down, leave them a comment. That helps so much, more than I can explain, because I don't even understand it. But at the end of the day, those numbers really make a difference. So let me set this down so we don't knock it off, because I like my can koozie. And you want to ditch this blanket?
Yeah.
All right, you gonna count it down this time?
3, 2, 1.
So what we've done is we chopped a big hole in the roof of our camper, and we covered that with a piece of 1/4 inch Lexan polycarbonate smoked tint. And I can't claim to be the first one to do this in a bushwhacker. That honor falls to Jacob and Crystal Motocha out in Oregon. And without them doing that and posting the pictures that they took of the inside of their camper, this never would have happened for us, because this was the last thing on my radar. But now that we've done it, my gosh, I can't imagine this camper without it.
It would be tough to go back to one without something like this inside of it.
It would. I mean, it totally changed the whole camping experience for us in this camper. And we spent 6 nights in it, and every night the stars were out. And we came home last night. I woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning and looked up at drywall. And I wanted to go out and get in the camper. I mean, it is just that nice. And we're going to take you around. this may be beyond the scope of some people's DIY capabilities, and I totally get it. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, after that first cut, you know, you're committed at that point. So, but we're going to take you around. I got some pictures of the process that we went through to do this, and we're going to share those with you as we kind of discuss our way through it. But to see this, you know, on camera, I have no idea what it looks like yet, but to see it in person, oh my gosh, it
really brightens up the inside. And I don't know, it's just nice. We took a nap one afternoon, and
it was storming.
It was storming, and
lightning coming across.
So there was rain pattering on the windshield. I was out like,
oh, you're out anyway.
5 seconds. Didn't take me long to fall asleep, but it was very cozy and and another added feature is now you can lay back and watch a movie.
That is. So you'll see on the inside, I got kind of carried away. My goal doing this not only was to get a window, you know, in the front of the camper and to be able to see the stars at night. I wanted this to look like it came from the factory. So I worked really hard to try to incorporate everything back into the camper that I had to take out of the camper in order to do this. And, you know, I think I did a fairly decent job of it. But now, instead of, if you're familiar with these campers, and I probably have a picture of what it looked like before, but they had one big cabinet that went across the front. And that cabinet, we stored a lot of stuff in it, and I didn't want to lose it, but it prevented me from being able to sit up in the camper and watch our screen. We use a Amazon Fire tablet to watch movies on, and that cabinet prevented me from being able to sit up. Well, since I split that cabinet and we now have one on each side of this opening, there's room for both of us to sit up now, and it's just much more comfortable, and I probably make it 5 minutes further into a movie before I fall asleep. So from that aspect, it's really nice. But we actually ate dinner in the camper.
Yeah, and there was plenty of room to do that. You could lean back and eat dinner.
Normally we don't eat in the camper, but the wind was just howling in Oklahoma. So you know, it was either get sand in your food from the sandstorm or eat in the camper. So we ate in the camper. But let me get Cindy on the camera here, and we'll walk you around and show this to you. But this is something that you really need to see in person if you're thinking about it, because to see it in person, you're going to want it. So let's get the camera going and go over this thing. So doing this project, like I said, it isn't for the faint of heart, because the first thing you're going to do is cut a big hole in the roof of your camper, and there's no going back at that point. But that said, actually doing the hole, you know, was the least scary part of it for me. Or I wouldn't say scary, it was just probably one of the easier parts of the project. I bet I had the hole cut in both the inner and outer skins in 40 minutes. You know, and from there, it was just a matter of taking my time and getting everything fit and get fit tight. I did a lot of CAD design work with this. That would be cardboard aided design. I went through a lot of cardboard. You wouldn't think that no thicker than what this camper is, that the difference between the inner and outer radius would be that much. But it was enough to drive me nuts trying to get those to match and then to get the upper and lower angles. So essentially the first thing that I did was leveled the camper up, made sure that everything was level, checked my shelf on the inside, and we'll show you here the headboard shelf on the inside. But I used that as my reference point, which would come back to bite me in the end. But I used that because it was actually level to the camper. So I took my measurements off of that. And then I knew from Jacob and Crystal's pictures that they posted that on this camper, it's quite a bit different than a lot of teardrops. A lot of teardrops are formed either with one piece of plywood forming the front end, or they'll use horizontal structure to form this bow of the front end. The Bushwhacker, on the other hand, it's all aluminum on the inner structure. So what they use is hydroformed rectangular tubes, and you've got one here, and then the one on each side forming this front bow, and then they wrap the Phylon material around it with the Asdale backing. So I knew from their picture that I had those in there. I just had to find them. So I used a couple of different methods to find it, got pretty close, and then marked what I wanted, horizontal lines down here, started making my cuts. And the horizontal cuts, I used an oscillating end tool. The vertical cuts running up the ribs, I actually used my DeWalt drywall cutout tool to run up right parallel to that rib. Worked great, made a lot of dust, but you know, it's a Bushwhacker, so it's already got a lot of dust. You know, and from then, it was just a matter of putting some headers top and bottom, and everything I added to it, I used a polyvinyl board. I cut down polyvinyl brick mold to use for headers top and bottom. And then once I got those in place, I carried those lines through, took a big swallow, and then started cutting. I bet it didn't take 2 minutes to cut this outer panel out, and I had a big hole in the camper. you know, and from then it was just taking my time thinking through the steps of how I wanted to do it. Now, I tried to plan ahead as far as I could, thinking what could be the biggest problem that we would have with this other than leaks. And to me, that would be condensation. So I set it up so that we can have an inner and outer polycarbonate panel, but we're running it now without the inner panel in it just to see if it was going to be okay. And we camped as low as 25 degrees on the way home. And I was just shocked that there was no condensation buildup on this window with it being polycarbonate. But our side windows being tempered glass, they both condense. So, you know, thrilled to death with the performance that we got out of this. The only time it really fogged was that one morning where the humidity was like 100%, and we had a little fog down low behind the blind that I made. And that blind was probably the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome, was to find something, a track that I could form to that radius. I found a lot of track that was designed to bend the opposite direction. I needed the track to bend in a longitudinal fashion. So I wound up making jigs and heating it up and ruined several pieces of it before I finally found something that was close enough to work. I'm still not real happy with how that turned out, but the blind itself, that's the very first blind I've ever made, and it actually works really well. It accordions up and down, stacks down here at the bottom. It's a double layer material with reflectix on the inside of it, so we get some insulated quality to it. But you know, down to 25 degrees, I can't really see Cindy and I camping much below that. And
not on purpose.
yeah, exactly. And we didn't plan on doing that. It was just on the way home. But you know, we were very comfortable. You know, the Propex heater did his job great. We had the roof vent cracked about 3/4 of an inch, had the side open, just, you know, a slit to let some air in. And like I said, there was no condensation. So I was just thrilled that I didn't have to put that inner panel in there, because, you know, to build a double layer, well, that's a tough one. To build a double
layer
window, thank you very much. You know, you really need a clean room. You need the ability to suck the air out, insert argon into it. So I knew that if I went and did a double layered window on this, hey, I got it that time.
Good job.
I know. That at some point in time I was going to take it out and clean it, because there was going to be air inside of it, you know, the argon air to keep it clean. So I was really hoping I didn't have to do that, but it is set up so in the event that I do, I can. But I don't foresee that in my future. I've got, I believe there's 34, don't hold me to that count, I kind of lost count at some point, screws holding this Lexan in. And I used a stainless steel screw, and I actually used the washer from, it's a sheet metal screw used in pole barns. It was already in black with a rubber washer underneath it. And then to seal the window up, I'm using a industrial strength double-sided foam glazing tape that they use to hold windows in skyscrapers. And when I read that description, I really should have stopped and thought, what exactly does that mean? You know, if it's going to hold a pane of glass in a skyscraper, chances are that's pretty good stuff. And you get one shot to get this right. And I mean one shot. So I was by myself the night that I set this glass. And
by design.
It was probably a good thing. But I used 2 alignment pins up at the very top to get my corners in place and then set it down. And it wasn't going anywhere from there. And in fact, today, I think I could take all 34 screws out and we would never need another screw in this thing again. The Lexan, everybody asked me about forming it to the bow. It actually would lay down on its own with a little bit of pressure and conform to that radius. Once I got it in place, then I used a heat gun to heat it up and let it cool a couple of times to relax, to take the stress out of it. But that tape, that is vicious tape. And it's not going anywhere. And in fact, like an idiot, I thought I was going to be a little short on one side, so I put another strip of tape on this side. That was an hour worth of my life that I'll never get back trying to get that off the camper. I didn't need it. It fit exactly where it was supposed to go, but I just thought in my head it was going to be a little bit short. And I thought, oh, I'll put another strip there and then I'll just trim it off when I'm done. Don't do that if you use that tape, because once it goes on, it doesn't want to come back off. And to replace this window today, I'd probably cry an hour before I started on it, because it would just be awful. But on the outside, you know, it wound up to be about 42 inches tall on the outside, and then it's cut down, you know, we lose about 1.5 inches here all the way around for the inside glass. But it allows, you know, a lot of light into the camper, but I wouldn't say it floods the camper with light.
No, it's not blinding.
Yeah.
You don't have to squint.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, is there a term, ambient light?
Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah, between it and the roof vent, you know,
Yeah.
it turned a dark dungeon into something that you can now see without having to have a headlight on at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, it made a huge difference, but it's not like this blinding light. And I did use a smoke tint instead of a clear or the dark tint. And I think that was a nice compromise between the clear and the dark, because we have the dark in our sailboat windows, and they're dark. I mean, they even limit the view out during the daytime in good light. So I went with this, really happy with that choice. But it just totally has changed the camper.
Well, let's see the inside.
You want to show them the inside?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. So here on the inside, you can see the dual cabinets that we now have, one on each side of the Stargazer window. And essentially what I did was I used as much of the pieces out of the original cabinet that I could use, but I also scrounged in order to get enough covering to redo the bottoms and the sides. I reused all the pieces that I took out when we redid our galley, because we gutted it out, and I held onto those thinking at some point I might need, you know, that material, and by golly I did. So in order to make it match, I used everything I could scrounge up, and you know, I got foam rubber pads here on the corners, which I've bumped in several times now and can test they work pretty darn well. But we were able to store everything that we had in this compartment back in these two cabinets, with the exception of my travel fly rod. And so it's now underneath the bed. But overall, this has been really nice. We've got the lights back underneath. I reused our puck lights. And then I moved, in the Bushwhacker, they have one central USB port here in the center in the underside of this upper cabinet. So I put one on each side here. We've got a USB-A and a PD port, one on each side. Cindy and I use to charge our phones and other devices. But you can see it looks about as factory as I think you're going to be able to get it. You know, I reused all the factory materials that I could, and then everything, there's no wood, you know, inside of this framed area. It's all polyvinyl board, so we don't have to worry, you know, about condensation or anything causing the problem with the wood. But it just really, you know, I wish we would have had a picture, you know, on a comparable day of how dark it is in here on the inside. Now, if you're someone that likes, you know, a dark environment, then this probably isn't for you, and this mod's not for everyone. But I've had a lot of people tell me, you know, how much they liked it and how much they wish they had it. And then some people have asked me, like, why didn't you just buy a tab that had the window end already? Well, a tab's probably about $25,000 plus. It didn't cost me $25,000 to do this window, and I can say I did it myself. But
can you move the
curtain?
shade?
Yeah. So the curtain that I made, I came up with this idea, you know, kind of like a folding blind, or a, you know, a what do they call those darn things? Accordion style blind. Yeah. So essentially I played around with a piece of Reflectix, sewing some seams in it to see what I was going to have in order to get it to accordion shape up. So what it does is it just slides right up and unfolds, and it kind of gets a memory to it after a while of it wants to come up and down, but you can play with it and get it to sit right in there and cover up the whole gap. And once you get it there, it stays put. We drove from Paducah, Kentucky to West Memphis, Arkansas is actually where we were at, and it never went anywhere. And then it folds right back down. So it stashes down there. Now the funny thing is the Reflectix, did you hear it crinkling some at night when we would adjust it?
No, but I saw that it was, it looks like it has pixie dust or something on it.
Yeah, so the material that we picked out, we picked it out because of the color, and it's kind of a heavyweight material, but it's also kind of an open weave. So in the right light, you get kind of a reflective view through it to where it looks like it has glitter on it almost, but it's just the Reflectix shining through to it. But on the inside, I trimmed it out, you know, polyvinyl trim there. This is the track that I had to create in order for the pins of my blind to grow in up and down. And that was really, you know, I spent a lot of time trying to get this track to lay right. I wound up making a mold that I put it in and then screwed it down, and then would heat it repeatedly and let it relax, so that when I finally took it off the mold, it would retain that shape. On the inside, you can see this lip right here that I made in the event that we need to go with a double layered window. I've got another pattern made that fits right there. All I would have to do is cut a piece of like 1/8 inch polycarbonate to put there. But like I said, if I can avoid that at all costs, I will. So we still have our headboard here. We've got our storage here. We got USB plugs. I mean, it's everything that I wanted, you know, with the Stargazer window, and I'm just so appreciative of Jacob and Crystal for sharing those pictures of what this looked like on the inside. Because when I first saw their pictures, you know, my first thought was that needs a window, and evidently that was their first thought too, because they did this last year. And then we spoke, several times during their process, and then I asked them, if it'd be okay for us to do it, and they were just super excited that we wanted to do it. So, we're doing it. We're going to share it with you. Now, the big question is going to be, if you don't know, Cindy and I have started doing mods for other people because of demand.
Well, Cindy hasn't, but you have.
Well, you're the promoter. So, we earned the name Wizard of Mods from other members in the Facebook group. It just kind of stuck. So, we're running with that and doing a lot of ARB room mods, Kickass mods, things of that nature, and basically whatever people want or need done to their camper. And, I've already had several people ask me, will you do this for other people? And that's something that we're going to have to think about, because the RVR, or the risk versus return reward on a project like this, is pretty high. If I go and screw this up, chop a hole in someone's roof and it, doesn't pan out, like this did, then we got a problem. But, if you're interested in having it done, get a hold of us, we'll discuss it and let it go from there. But, it's not I wouldn't say, you're not rebuilding the entire camper. You're just cutting a hole in the roof and then trying to make it look the best that you can. And that was my goal. And I'm just so tickled with it. But it has caused a big problem. Last night laying in bed, I'm thinking, how can I chop a hole in our bedroom ceiling to get those stars to twinkle over our bed like they did in this?
We may have to build a new house.
We may have to. But I think the big thing about it is, so we have skylights in our great room, and you can see the stars, but it just isn't like this, because the window is so close to you that your field of view opens up. And I was really hoping to see a shooting star down in Texas. And at one point I thought I was, but it was the slowest shooting star ever. It turned out to be an airplane. But I got excited there for a few minutes. But just super, super pleased with this one. And, I can't say much enough.
Yeah, it's really, when you said that you were going to do this mod, my thought was, well, if that's how you want to spend your time, go for it. But now that you've done it, and there really were no times, at least when you came home, that you were frustrated or you felt like something didn't go well. It was like, it went pretty smoothly, much better than you thought it was going to. So that's a thumbs up.
I had the benefit of time over the winter, so we couldn't ski. We weren't traveling much because there was no snow nearby. So I just took my time and I thought through it, making it so I can have double layers if we would needed that. Really, the only thing that was frustrating was that gutter, or not the gutter track, but the track for the curtain. Getting it to form in the right direction.
That door's gonna slam.
Yeah, right there. So to be able to take your time, work through something, and think through it, that really helps. There were times that I just kind of walked away from it, and have to go think about the next step, and and things when you do projects like this, you aren't thinking just next step. You're thinking, a year down the road. What's this going to be like? What can I do to prevent this, that? It's a pretty lengthy process to create stuff like this and then try to make it look the best that you can.
So if someone contacts you with questions, you're totally open to that, right?
Yeah, if you got questions, drop us a comment, drop us an email. We always put the email at the end, and we get emails every day from people from everywhere. We've talked to people in Australia and Europe, and that's been really neat. And if I can help you, nothing that we do is proprietary. If you want to go out this and knock it out and try it on your own, there's nothing saying that you can't do that. And I tell you, as a creator, not just a YouTube video creator, but as a creator of these mods and and other things that we do, to me, the greatest compliment is walking through a group of these campers and seeing your influence in other campers. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that was really cool to see, that people would come up to you and say, hey, we watched your video and so we did this, which to me, as someone who's not full of confidence for things like this, to have the confidence to try that is amazing to me. And another thing were the women solo campers that were there. I'm just so proud of them.
Oh my gosh.
For traveling by themselves and, hooking it up and getting it all set up afterwards.
One in particular, Mary, I think she's our spirit animal. Mary just, she decides I want to go that way, and she goes that way.
Yeah,
and,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I get a kick out of Mary, and Mary's actually coming up to have some mods done to make her camper work better for her in her solo environment. And we discussed, at one point she wanted to do the big Kickass room, and Mary's kind of
ARB.
I'm sorry, the ARB room, and I can't say that I talked her out of it. I just shared my concerns, and we both had the same concerns. So I think we're going to steer away from that, just because of her short stature, and and setting it up, would probably be more than she would do. And I don't want to do, and spend someone's money on something that they won't be able to use. So for Mary, we're going to do the Kickass shower room for her, and a few other things.
Which is a great mod.
Oh, to me, that is a better mod than the ARB room, because we use that every time we stop.
Yeah, true. I would hate to go without either one, though. I really like that ARB room. So
well, that's because you're spoiled and you have both.
I know. Believe me, I know.
But thank you all very much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed our Stargazer window. Thank you again to Jacob and Crystal and Timber Lynn. Without Timber Lynn and the need for the bigger bed in the back, neither Jacob and Crystal or us would have this window today. And we're looking forward. We're going to be traveling out west in September. We're going to link up with Jacob and Crystal, and we're going to get the two campers side by side so we can have the two bushwhackers with Stargazer windows. And heck, by then maybe there'll be a whole gaggle of them out there with Stargazer windows, because it's not something that you can't do. It's just something you got to decide that you want to do, swallow really hard, and cut a big hole in your roof. So until the next video, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you soon.